Well, let me take you back, everybody, to June the 7th, 1999. In the WWF, the story has been that The Undertaker and his ministry are trying to mess with Vince McMahon. They kidnap Stephanie. They try and have her have a satanic wedding with The Undertaker. And Vince McMahon and Steve Austin have teamed up to take on this evil force of the ministry and whoever the higher power is. And on June 7th, 1999 on Raw, the higher power comes out to reveal himself. Then Vince McMahon pops up on screen and Vince McMahon says he's going to fight whoever the higher power is. And he reveals himself to be Vince McMahon. On Raw, there is the photo, if you're watching this on video, the crazy bastard that he is. Finn, take me back to 1999, covering Power Slam. Did you think it was going to be him? Who else did you think it was going to be? And how much of a creative success or flop was this reveal?
Well, I remember, was it the week before where Steve Austin, the higher power, the week before it was revealed to be Vince, the week before, didn't the higher power reveal himself to Austin? I think that did happen.
Yeah, because the Undertaker and Shane McMahon had Austin held in the ropes. So then the higher power came down and kind of just showed his face and then went to Austin only and left. And then Austin was very nice about not coming out to say anything and letting Vince do a whole charade. He came out at the beginning of the show in his vest to call it the higher power. And then then we get this whole ceremony for him to reveal that it was him. It was him all along, Finn.
Yeah, it was me all along, Austin. So I mean, it's an iconic image of Vince, isn't it? Iconic, much like the Austin blood, face covered in blood from WrestleMania 13. It's up there with that, isn't it? The Vince revealing himself, and it was me all along, Austin. I think at this point in time, in stark contrast to what WWE is doing in June of 2021. The WWF 22 years ago could literally do no wrong, Kenny. It didn't matter. No one was bothered. I mean, I know a lot of people complained that it made no sense, but WCW was a shambles by this point. I mean, they were chasing the tails. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. I mean, in a few months' time, they were about to strike a deal with Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, for God's sake. Let's face it, we're no doubt the architects of this angle, this story, this reveal. But I mean, I thought it was dumb. I mean, it didn't really make any sense. But WWF was doing so well at the time. It was white hot that they could get away with it. I mean, that was my reaction at the time. And then everything just moved so quickly that your mind was immediately then shifted to the next episode of Raw. I mean, it was a short time after that, wasn't it, when Austin and Undertaker had their famous match for the title, didn't they, on TV?
Yeah, I think it was the night after the July pay-per-view, where he beat because they had the first blood match at Fully Loaded, and they fought again the next night. I was just gonna say that Undertaker did defend his title against Rock at King of the Ring, so he was champion at this point because he'd won it back over the edge with the awful fumble spot.
Yes. So I remember that was the highest I think was it the highest rated episode, or certainly the highest rated segment in the history of Raw. Well, it was up until that point and still is to this day. So, if anyone had any complaints about the absurdity of the higher power reveal, they weren't deterred from watching that title match the following month. So that just really proves to you that it did not matter. Yeah, it's certainly remembered as one of the strangest things they ever did, that didn't make any sense at all. I mean, it just cannot be explained, can it? There are lots of wrestling. We go to great lengths as wrestling fans to explain the inexplicable, but that one cannot be explained or excused on any level, as far as I know. What do you think, Kenny?
Well, yeah, no, because the whole idea is that in the storyline that Vince McMahon wants to mess with Steve Austin so much that he's willing to, have his daughter be kidnapped and all that. But then he got the belt back anyway. So, like, none of it really makes sense. I guess the thing I was interested in from your perspective, because we knew that they started talking about higher power just after WrestleMania 15, which would have been late
Yeah.
March, early April. This reveals early June. So we maybe had 2 months on TV of sort of prep that there was going to be a higher power. Did you have any ideas of who you thought it could be? I know they kind of mentioned Jake Roberts as a joke because it was going around at the time on Raw, but did you have any inclination that it could be somebody else?
Well, I mean, the thing was, who else could it have been? That was the problem, is that most of the big names were signed up to WCW. I mean, I guess it could have been the Ultimate Warrior. Well, I mean, things there was a little bit of tension, as people might have heard, between the Warrior and Vince McMahon WWF at the time. But if you go back and look at the list of potential candidates of who it could have been, it was a very, very small pool. So, I mean, the fact that it was Vince didn't make any sense, but because Vince was such a huge star, one of the two biggest players in the TV storylines at the time, and Vince, let's face it, could pretty much do anything. He could pull almost anything off. I mean, if you go back and look at what he did in 98 and 99, there was very few things he did that didn't work. Almost everything he did, he somehow made it a success, which just was indicative of the level of talent that the man had.